Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
I hope I open your eyes to the dimension of life. Life as a holistic life of your soul, which is part of the structure of the universe, not life as part of the physicality, which is part of the structure of this planet. And then we understand what the next step be if we are not prejudiced, if we are not misguided, if we are not narrow-minded, just to keep to understand what is here and leave the rest to my soul when I'm gone. Then you find out you have a lot to learn to get to that point. I hope, as usual, I open another door, a crack in the wall, that it brings down all the misguided understanding of the past, and you become to enlighten yourself. If you listen, which is beautiful every time I hear it, to the disclaimer of every teaching, embedded in it, in the word of it, in the ethos of it, it keeps on telling you, this is individual cases. It's your job to investigate independently, to peer review if what they did suits me, if it's correct to me. It's not just for your illness, it's for the illness of your mind, your understanding of your own world of creation. And then you understand, even each intro gives you what I call independently, you decide. Does this fit me? Do I understand it where I missed? And does it go according to my intelligence? This is why we never have a peer review, because in the word of the disclaimer, it's your job to investigate to your understanding, and it befits you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 559th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, October 10th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I'll be your host again in this continuous weekly series of workshops ongoing for over 10 years now. And once again, we have the honor of having Mr. Mehran Keshe being our presenter today. And I believe he's ready to go, as he usually is in these kind of things, and eager, ready, and willing. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Hello, good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers programs from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We welcome you back, as usual. We're still ready to share. Before we start, there is a note that I have to ask you as knowledge seekers to pay attention to, and that is the Keshe Foundation website in the past week has been under heavy attack. Number of our websites were attacked heavily, and it persisted for days. For this reason, we had to do some steps. The Keshe Foundation IT team has worked heavily trying to, clear the mess up. And some of you might have a problem with your internet reaching the website or the store. The system is up and running, but the remnants of this could have created some problems for you. And what we'd like you to do is delete your cookies for the website Keshe Foundation, Keshe.Foundation, or whatever website is ending up in the status of forbidden, and reinstall it again. And you'll find out you'll get in through very easily, and there should be no problem. Following the teaching and understanding and the work of the last few weeks, we move on to the next step. We move on to the understanding of the totality further of our own lives, our own existence. And how we as people live this life. How we lived. This what I call in the English language schizophrenic life of one dimension of the physical and one dimension of energy. And when you understand this, then we are all beautiful people. It's just that we don't understand the extent of our beauty and how this beauty works, how this majestic system of the creation works within itself to connect with itself, and how man comes to understand the expansion of his totality. In the last week teaching, we spoke about hydrogen, and we spoke about what we call the carbon, and we spoke about the gravity and the dimension of the use of all the materials in this body, be it transportation or transmutation, and how this works. One in a physical dimension and one in the energy dimension. It was easy to understand that we all live what I call a schizophrenic life. Now we understand about our own schizophrenic, that we have a hydrogen carbon bond on one side, and we had a nitrogen, and very interesting, Why does it do this? Rick, here's a problem with the...
What's happening?
It just changes everything to a square.
Oh,
I can't clean it out, so you can know it doesn't let go. I'm gonna go out and come back in again.
Yeah.
Okay, but how do I go out? Interesting. Cancel. I'm trying to find out. Every time we have this new system, we have a problem. Okay, I have to... Whiteboard. New whiteboard. Let's see if we get it this way. Okay. So what we came to, I hope this survey works, is what we said about hydrogen and a carbon. And then we have the nitrogen and oxygen. I always explained this nitrogen and oxygen relationship with the physical life. It is interesting to, as a part of the studies, if you go back and go into some of the scientific research in some of the things you can test to confirm the gravitational field, or what we call the magnetic field, gravitational field of the, what we call the gaseous and the liquid side with oxygen, to be the same as the one which is with the nitrogen, which is connected to the ion, the physical side. We need the gravitation of both. If a planet is only gaseous, you only look at one element because there is no matter state solid in it. When you have a composite material state with no gaseous line on it, you look at the, what we call matter state connection of it to find life. In the scientific research, if you've done this, or if you ever knew, we confirm that oxygen behaves as a gravitational field, as a magnet into the liquid environment. How the scientists do this is very simple. You take a magnet in a way like this, and you apply a very high voltage in a way, and then you pour different liquid materials like nitrogen, like what you call anything you have as a liquid, and you find it just goes through, you don't see anything. But interesting enough, when it comes to hydrogen, to oxygen, oxygen builds a bridge. It shows its gravitational characteristics, which is in a way in balance with the, what we call the magnetic field of the Earth, which connects it to nitrogen, as I explained last time. 4 times nitrogen gives you the iron, which gives you that magnetic field. But if you pour nitrogen in this gap, it will not go. But if you pour oxygen, you see a white cloud just sticks. It becomes like a matter state. So one of the confirmation for you to understand why and how physical confirmation that oxygen behaves like a magnet, like a gravitational fields on this planet for a what we call liquid and what we call gaseous state, is this test. So scientifically you can see it, that the what we call the fundamental understanding of the teaching is correct. So you have 2 magnetic field connecting, and this is the same with the hydrogen and carbon. 2 magnetic field of the same connect. This is what is the beauty of the creation. So for you knowledge seekers, I know you do these things, go and get yourself a horseshoe magnet, specifically design it that it has a power, you can adjust it, and then pour some liquid oxygen. You see this cloud created, this connection created. And then you understand how nitrogen and oxygen have become the element of the amino acid of the magnet. Because one connects you to the physical side, the nitrogen, and one connects you to the liquid and the gaseous part. But this teaches you one further point, and that is, if the nitrogen side is 14 times 4, which gives you the 56, which is around the element of the iron, what does 16 times 4 give you? This is the limitation. This is the position of the limitation of the materials which can bring, connect, and be part of the life into this structure. You see zinc and you see copper. On the other hand, if you look at the different multiplication of the same, when you go to 14 times 3, it gives you 42. You did calcium and potassium. The same goes with the what we call the elements, to the multiplication of 1, 2, or 3 times the magnetic fields. Then you understand when you have and you connect into what we call 28s and 30s and 32s, because multiplication of the two. So it shows how the structure of the physicality on this planet is created. Link, strength, connection to the magnetic field of the planetary system. This is why we don't see life on planetary system which have no what we call atmosphere on the surface of them. But it doesn't mean that they don't have life inside. But all this is always connected to the world of the creation of the universe. Once you understand this in a full detail, in understanding of totality, the world of the creation, the world of science, becomes very easy to understand in a micro and macro. Universal life and a physical life. They're all connected. They are there. We have no choice. Now we understand it. And then we see, like when we add calcium to this, we get bone structure. We add potassium into this, we get field radiation and connected to some of the characteristics of it. But the next step for us to understand is to move away from the matter state and move in a dimension and a direction where the correction and what we call collection of the whole three brings a common denominator, maximum extent of the field strength of the soul. What does this mean? Once we find a common denominator, field strength, the same as what we did with magnetic fields here with the nitrogen and oxygen, between the carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, because hydrogen is always there as a basic limit, as a starter point, then you find the field strength of the soul, the maximum extension of the field, the strength of the soul, because then the soul and the soul of physicality all work within the first dimension with the same dimension. What does this mean? You need to bring a very, very strange but specific characteristic into this. I thought about this a couple of years ago in dimension of the work. But what is interesting is the beauty which this brings into play. If you bring and place in here, very simply, very straightforward. Put 12. It's not the right color. Let me get you a more darker color that you can see. Let's go for a blue. If we take this and we bring it in here somewhere in between and play a slightly different game and multiply 12 by 5, you get 60. Then you understand, if you go into the crystal structure, you find a common denominator why life is given crystal structure of the physicality. If you don't understand this, go back. You have carbon 12, carbon 14, and then you have carbon 60, which is crystal structure. But here at the same time, if you multiply carbon 14 by 4, which gives you the 56, you see how we are connected to both dimensions of the physical life and dimension of the universal life. "60" brings us the physical muscle tissue, copper. Is elusive greenish color with tints of green and red into it. But the interesting point is, when you bring carbon 14 into game and into play, in being equal or parallel to the nitrogen, this is where the bond is created. This is how the amino acid is created, connected to the physical dimension on the energy of carbon 12, and connected, giving it a physical structure as a crystal structure of the carbon 60 in the dimension of the universal light. Then you see how when you eat, when you absorb energy, you interact with the dimension of the soul. The emotion between the two sides. Understanding the positioning, understanding the conformation of the existence. If you understood this, if you take it a step further, you come to understand how to transmute. You come to understand what you need to transmute. Then you come to understand why we ever started the production of the gas. The very first gas we taught to you was CO2. Because you look at the gas in the material and the water you have. And I keep on telling you, look at the gas as the energy, which is the fields of the universe. If you take this and bring it into the play and bring it into interaction with the fields of the matter state of the life, then you understand how sugar, you call it CH3, plays the game on this side. Then you understand into the addictions, why you have the nitrogen and oxygen playing on this side. And then you understand where the emotion comes, we get addicted to. Abuse, sexually, psychological abuse, because we lock into one of these in connection to the amino acid. Look at all the alcohols, chemical combination. Look at all the narcotics. Look at the hormones which connect to your sexual behavior, connects to your emotional behavior. And then, if you understand this, you have learned the game of the creation. Then, when we are told in the deep space there is a star which has this chemical composition on its atmospheric condition and such a composition in its matter ground state, it will be easy for us to calculate what life and what amino acid exists in this combination. We don't need to be there to feel it. We can create it in a fish tank, as I call it. And then add part of the amino acid of your soul part into it, and you see the manifestation of the physicality in the fish tank. Then you know how you will look when you arrive at the point of the time, destination, and the place. But what again we see, what again we understand from the world of science of today, the astronomers and the cosmologists tell us this planet is this, then it takes so many million light years or thousands of light years to go to it, you say, rubbish. Because you understood the composition of the creation of the connection in this level of life. And once you do that, transmutation is instantaneous. There is nowhere in the universe that the life exists without connection to the hydrogen, or what we call magnetic field of the fundamental element. Magnetic field of fundamental element, which is the one of the proton and one of the electron, which is a twinity, is the cornerstone of the creation, the creator amitra, hydrogen, electron, and a proton. We changed the name of mitra to electron, where we kept the creator as proton. But in essence, the origin is when you put them together, you get the totality of the creation, which is neutron. And in a plasma, you have a neutron because the two are together. And this is where the knowledge of the man lacks understanding of the creation. When you look at element of hydrogen in its totality, you look at the totality of the creation because that's what the neutron is. Fundamental element. As an energy, when you look at it as encapsulating field at the atmosphere of the proton neutron, the proton electron, you see neutron, you see the creation, you see the neutron. And if you understand this, you understand again the same game repeating itself again and again and again and again, but man does not see this. If you play it in the dimension of if you look at this in a very simple way, you have a hydrogen and you have a carbon. In the present world, we call it 13 and 15, depending on energy, not on molecular structure. 13 being hydrogen plus carbon 12, 15 being carbon plus carbon 14. Because you live two lives, now you have to consider both from now on. But interesting enough, if you put the nitrogen and oxygen together, you have a 14 and a 16. So you have a very straightforward combination of 30. Then you see what this means. How much we live in the dimension of connection to our soul. And then, even if you multiply this by 2, you find the parameters of the minimum you can live, you can interact, and you can create a life combination. Then you see how your emotion of physicality is connected to the emotion of the soul. Because this guy is a traveler, he travels the universe, and this guy is connected to physicality, is heavier, he has to get stuck with. Then you find out why, when you take certain elements, when you breathe it in, when you put it in your mouth, playing this game will affect this, and you call it hallucination, you call it dream. Then you understand, by controlling the amount of oxygen and amount of nitrogen you take in your breathing, you can control your speed of travel, your transmutation. Or you combine the two together on a carbon 60, you can float, because you create your own dynamic of what we call crystal structure. When you look at the nitrogen being 60% of the air of this planet, elements of the what you breathe, and then you play with the oxygen, which is around about 15-16%, then you understand how your breathing has become part of your life, connecting, feeding your soul for your part of what we call schizophrenic life. The whole problem goes back again in the misunderstanding, in fallacy of what we call science. Look at the life. Just go on the internet and look what this percentage of the oxygen in the atmosphere we breathe. Look at the connection with the nitrogen. 4:1. Isn't this what we saw the gravitational magnetic field of the physical earth needed? Then you start seeing the intriguing way that the field matter states create, connect to the energy state of the field. Then, in reality, by breathing the air, we connect to gravitational magnetic field matter state of this planet. This is why when we go out of this atmosphere, become breathe, we die, because our connection with the gravitational matter state of this field is disconnected. As long as we keep the oxygen, which is connected by matter of the dimension and direction to carbon 15, what we call a combination of the hydrogen and a carbon 14, we can survive anywhere in the universe. We don't need the matter state nitrogen of the position, time, and place. This is how where you arrive, you live on the dimension of the carbon 14 with connection to the creator, the line. That connection creates its own composition. You remember the way we said interaction of the fields creates mass, and the interaction of that field package with another package of the environment gives you the weight. It's the same process. It's the same understanding. Then this brings you to a very interesting point and very interesting part, and that is how we go to the next step, how we add to understanding of new condition of the matter, and how we have not understood this connection of the air we breathe. They tell you so wrongly, when you stop taking oxygen, you die, and they give you the oxygen. If they put a mixture of the connection of the nitrogen with oxygen in a specific way, in the time of when you breathe, you can connect to your soul. This is why some people say, I've seen the light, I died, because at that point the combination fits into it. This is why some people, by breathing, can feed themselves. They connect to that carbon 15. They connect to that combination of carbon 15, which is addition to the universal line, which is a carbon 14 plus 1, which is a 15. You're connected to universal energy. Why do you kill to read? If you know how to do it, by changing the level of oxygen in your body connected to the physicality of this planet on the nitrogen within your amino acid, you created the black hole of the energy of the universe. Any energy you want, you tap into. Then this brings you to a new understanding. You remember, I've repeated this many times before, when the Indian group came to the Keshe Foundation and they were flat on the floor with him kissing his foot because so many times he could not eat for 20 odd days, and this magic, the guy found out how to change through breathing to this energy level to tap into. And if he could teach that to his followers, no one would have eaten anything, no one would have killed for. But there is another dimension into this, because it's field interaction. Your universal energy of understanding intellect and your physical intellect is the same. It has access to both at the same time. But you have to understand how it works, how you can tap into the universal knowledge, how you interact with it. The way you use the oxygen breathing to connect with universal energy to feed, how do you connect to universal intellect that you can take the information, as we say, downloading. This comes to another point. This comes to another side of the what we call, we've shown you the graphs. You have a physical life. You have a solar physicality with the energy packs of the matter state, which is connected to the nitrogen. And then you have the universal line of energy. What does this mean? In reality, this means you don't need to do much. In this process, you got to understand how you connect to the hydrogen, to the carbon, to nitrogen, and to oxygen. In this process, how does it work? This gives you very interesting, very intriguing combination. What this combination is. Let's draw it like this. Let's take it off, that I can do it for you much easier. No. You have intriguing position of this. As much as I know you like yellow, if I can get hold of the yellow, which picture of the sun. On this end, you're dealing with the physicality. And on this side of it, you're dealing with a soul of physicality, which sits between the two. But this soul of physicality, in the interaction between the two, finds itself on the side of the physical life. But it opens a position in a dimension of emotion, which both share. And this is where we connect through our emotion to the Creator. Muhammad, blessed his name, said, if you read the whole Quran, you find 100 attributes of the Creator. These are the emotions of the Creator, not the physicality and his behavior. Kindness is emotion. Giving is an emotion. Forgiveness is an emotion. Kindness is an emotion. And then if you understand this, you know how to control and how to use the emotion of love and to move on from one to another. You use the emotion of everything which is the beauty you cannot take, because these two are set, you cannot change. Either side of the equation is balanced all the time. It just depends what the spectrum of the energy of which we interact to create what emotion in this common ground. Go back to the teaching all the time. I said the emotion in the physical life is the same as emotion in the soul. Now you know this is your soul. Now you understand why the position of the soul of the man is black in color within your MRI, within your scans. You have carbon. In the dimension of the universe. This is why our universe is dark. Looks black. Elusive black. Because the interaction of the energy of the Creator as hydrogen and in interaction with the combination of the carbon creates that elusiveness of the color of black. Try it in the lab, you will understand. Then you understand how the system works. Then you understand how you use the emotion in the essence of the soul to convert into emotion in the essence of the physicality. This is why when we dream of the mom, we feel that emotion in our physical condition and wake up and remember, because we sit in this. Then you understand how the soul of the man, the physicality of the man connected to the physical characteristics of this planet, is connected to the life in the universe. Because when you connect to another creature in the universe, you connect through this, not through this or through this. In a physical life, we connect through this and bit of this, we call it love, and we generate children of it. In the world of the creation of the universe, it's more or less the same. But you have to understand what emotion in what environment and with whose love you're playing. You play with the love of the Creator, you're in it. You see the light. You see, you get access to the knowledge of the creation. Then you find out you are part of that light, you are part of that knowledge, and there is nothing to be proud of because you are common amongst all the others. You are part of the creation. Then our men on this world fight for how much of this, in what combination they put on their crown. They call themselves kings, diamonds, crowns, and the rest of it, and the presidents. And this is a question which comes down to, what are we fighting for on a dimension of physicality, when in essence we have access to the dimension of the Creator? How long will it take man to come to understand this? And how long will it take man to understand this as a whole? Then you understand what life is about. The whole process of your life, your ancestors, the Creator is on this page. Then it comes to the point that if you understand each part of this knowledge on the screen, what are we fighting? And how can we use our soul to connect to the universal community than our physical world? And how to change the course of the humanity by connecting to what I call common denominator structure of the universe. The problem in most of the world of creation comes in this part. And this is the part which we have a huge problem with. And this is where we sit with problems. Because we haven't understood this, we run in problem with this, and we have a bigger problem with this. I made man in the image of myself. And in reality, is this my image? Is this what I want? This is what I want to produce. This is what I've taken further to understand about myself. And if we understand this process, if we have the intellect to decipher the knowledge of the creation between its element of time, place, and position, and a constant point of reference, then we can create any life anywhere in the universe. All we need is to understand the emotion, which is common denominator between the two. And this is why in all the teachings I keep on explaining and I keep on referring to giving the love. If you find that energy level, which is not difficult, many have achieved, then you can transmute to this dimension, or you can transport to this dimension. The love of Creator, the love of knowledge, the love of becoming a knowledgeable creator, then you can create anything. You can access to the knowledge of the universe. One abuse, and you're back to start point. Now, you understand more about yourself. You understand more about your own creation scientifically, not by, I breathe, I can fast 21 days, I can become illuminated, I can see the light. You can all do all of it. Now you know which one of these fours you have to play with. And if you become good enough to play with this one, you find the path to your creator. You find path to the source. You find path to beauty of this, as in the world of matter, you call it the electron and a proton. And in the world of energy, we call him the fundamental element, which is energy itself. In a matter state, you look inside. In the world of creation, we look from outside to see what. And if you understand what I said, you have found a way to every position dimension in the unicos. Because when it comes to the unicos, you have a different gameplay, which is very easy. What does this mean? It means, again, cannot be any different. The source of the unicos in its structure is connected to a specific, what you call, fundamental energy of element, which is in the center. You call it the hydrogen of the universe, the fundamental energy of the creation. And then you have all the universes which work within to create, connect to the same point. Those who gather this knowledge to reach to the fundamental energy, to the fundamental source, will understand the totality of the world of creation. Does not matter in which position, time, and space they manifest themselves. We have called it hydrogen. We have called it a neutron. But in fact, is the essence of the totality on its own of the whole creation. Where again, the black hole as a center sits as a proton, and the universes and unicosmoses and the galaxies become that electron. If one day man looks from a distance and be able to see through this universe, you will see exactly what you see in the structure of an element. One center point and many electrons as galaxies within and around it, but in a bigger dimension. When you look at electron in a combination structure of physicality of an element, that electron is a galaxy. It has so many elements inside it. Then you understand there is no difference in the world of the creation in all its dimensions. It's for you to understand the essence of the interaction of the fields and understand fields in motion means creation of energy, life. And then you understand why it says, I made man in the image of myself. As long as I give it energy, the man runs, the man lives. And that man, to be given energy, needs to take from the environmental energy which I've created for it to live. Stand outside a fish tank and look at the fish. That tank is his universe. And that fish inside opens his mouth continuously, not taking the water in, but taking the energy from its environment, which is embedded in that water. And then change that fish with a man. And then you change the environment, make it more acidic, make it more salty, make it more sweet, and see what kind of fish you get. You change from the sweetwater fish into the saltwater fish, then you will be the fish that you can live in an acidic environment, but you need different tentacles than the others. And then you see how man will change in space by changing those elements of his environment. Then you see how you look in a space when you land in that affirmation of confirmation of the environment you land in. The soul in the center does not change, but the manifestation of the physicality changes to suit the environment. You cannot put a fish from the sweet water in the salty water. It cannot adapt unless it has the preset system for, but it can adapt if it travels through the dimension of its soul. It will take the manifestation of the soul of the physicality of the salt water. Maybe you understand the terminology used as a mermaid, but then that comes in both the split dimension of the soul and the soul of physicality and the physicality of the manifestation. As knowledge seekers, today's teaching should have brought to know yourself more, to understand how you connect to your environment and how your environment creates the emotion that allows you to be the travelers of the universe. It's you who decides which way I go. I change my breathing, I change my structure, I can change part of the absorption of the energy. But in totality, you have to come to understand one thing. In your amino acid dimension, which is the nitrogen and oxygen and hydrogen and carbon, you have to understand how to reach to that carbon 60 energy fields, to be able to reach to manifestation of the energy field common diameter of the universe and created by its own dimension and characteristics. We looked at multiplication, but sometimes you have to look at subdivisions. This life is the basic fundamental energy transfer units of the universe. Does not mean that you always live within a structure, but sometimes you can use this structure into its lower order of elements to create what we call the fundamental steps in creating energy fields, which allows the soul of the man to interact in certain conditions with the dimension of his physical condition to create life in sub-subliminal, in a way sub-existing in the dimension of the universe. And then you understand this kind of life finds faster access to the dimension of the creation than this kind of life. One day I explain. It's not that everything has to be multiplication of the environment created. In position is a subdivision of, and This kind of life exists in empty space of the universe man looks at. And is more of them than more of them. And this is, if one day you understand, creation of life in the span of the universe is the same. I hope I open your eyes to the truth about yourself and your existence in the dimension of the Creator and the creation. And one day, if you understand this, you will understand it's easy to work and easy to live. It does not matter where you are, as long as you understand the connection between your position and your origin. Because at the end, the nitrogen and oxygen comes from the interaction of this itself in different shapes and formation. If this is hard to understand, I'll bring you another point for you to understand more. You look at CH3, the original sugar, the original essence of life. 15. You take common denominator between these two, and you see why nitrogen feeds the amino acid. And then you understand why the basic sugar works within the structure. Because now it has a common denominator to feed both. Soul of the man in the dimension of the universal level and to the physicality of the man in the dimension of matter state. Then you understand why when you drink alcohol, you touch the realms of the dream and going to the other side. Alcohol is a combination of sugar and a carbon. When it takes you through more in the dimension of the hydrogen and carbon, physicality has to follow. It has no sense of direction of the emotion of it. You tittle-tattle because the physicality tries to follow the images of the fields of the universal energy. And then you wonder, would I like to be always drunk? Yes, but drunk with the love of the Creator and not drunk with the alcohol of the man. And if you understand this, you will understand there is nothing that man can do except understand the process of his own creation to be able to reach to his Creator. And as always said, beautifully by Muhammad, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the gift of the Creator. If the man understands his giving, his beauty, his essence, and now man understands. And will take men of science years after I've gone for them to understand the teaching of today. And for those who understand, will get access to the world of the creation instantaneously, because then they know how to manipulate between this side and that side and how to go. And you don't need to push it because it pushes you to that dimension. I hope you understood from today's work the totality of the understanding of the work of the man. And I hope that in you understanding this as a whole, you have found the secret to the world of creation. Thank you very much for today. And I hope sincerely, one day in the science of and scientist of the man will take this page and study it for centuries to come, to understand how, where, how will it look, how will it come, how will it shape, what he calls a dream and what he calls a reality. But the dream is the reality of the universe, and the understanding of the man with reality is in dimension of the understanding of the universe. We call it the dream. It's emotion, it's feels, and it's understanding. We go for a small break and we come back, and I hope what I've taught you for past 10 years has brought you and was planned to bring you to this point of understanding. I hope you understood. As you see your emotion, the line, the connection to your creator, and the games magnetic fields plays, and with it, how you can become part of the creator and the creation at the same time. Break. Take us for a break and we come back.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. All right, another wonderful teaching here. This is the 559th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. We will be taking an intermission for just a few minutes and be back for the second half with ability to ask questions of Mr. Keshe. And our attendees here in the Zoom can put their virtual hands up, and we can acknowledge you and allow your microphone to open. And people can put questions in the chat or the Q&A here in the Zoom as well. Okay.
Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine. as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation, and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo, and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, welcome back to the second half of the 559th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here. And Mr. Keshe, usually you have something you'd like to say before we engage that in question and answer period.
Yes. Just give me 1 second. I'm just doing something which you'll see in a minute.
Okay.
You came a little bit too early. Okay.
Do you need a few minutes?
No, it's done. This is done.
Okay.
Done. Thank you very much. Sorry about this. You used to have a very long intros. I used to do a lot of things in between, but now I had to, with a short interview, what do you call it, interim time. Thank you very much for being back. Yes, there are a few things which we like to bring your attention to. As usual, as part of the structure of the Keshe Foundation products, Keshe Foundation has launched this week new range of what we call soaps. You see it, but you cannot add it to the cart. It'll be open up in next day or so. This is another dimension to the work of the Keshe Foundation. We will pursue this work of the soaps. It's totally different than what was before. It's the new structure, and we would like you to report back to us how you feel emotionally as much as physically. It's one of those twin systems, but now we have brought it into a very nice way as a soap product. It's not the one which I've seen a lot of knowledge seekers making soaps and promoting it. But this is a dual structure, and we would like to see as part of that what we had the Trinity answers. Now we have what we call dimension of the Trinity as a soap, but set it specifically inside. You can use any of the two combination if you like, because there's 5 different combination into it. Each one you can use and see how you feel more happy and more connected than the rest of it. On the back of these soaps, in next few days and weeks, we will launch a new Trinity soap and one unifying soap. What this means, very much like the structure you had with the, let's say, Negans, we will launch such a thing for joints, for Trinity soaps, for what do you call it, like the pain pads, we call it the pain soap. And then we will hopefully, in the course of very short time, we will launch what is known as a unity soap. What does this unity soap will bring? We'll explain it in the future. Is for extension of the knowledge to unify the field energy within the body of the man. It's a very specific soap. When you use it in the shower, when you wash your body with it, you will feel that process. What does it mean? Let's say you have a condition which has been the point of your concern. See how that condition changes. If you have a little lump on your, what do you call it, psoriasis, see how that changes. Does it bring the change of emotion? And does it bring change of physicality? The soaps which will come on that level are extremely expensive. It's not just a normal soap, and it's taken a lot of research to develop it. We would like to do the response for it. We would like to see how you react to it. So it's part of the trial. It's still the same clear water, the same certification, the same process. But this brings a new dimension. What we're trying to do is, if I use a soap, can I feed myself? To learn how to create that condition. If I'm in a certain mindset, can I change it? If I have certain condition, a lump here, a lump there, can I bring the change to it? That I still have the lump, but I feel happy, I'm content. I want a blonde hair or blue eyes or whatever. It's contentment. And once we launch these, especially what I call the body soap and what I call the full, what I call unit soap of the one thing, they'll be around about €1,000 per soap. It's not going to be cheap. We have to achieve it. We have to be able to do it, and then you see it on the what do you call, on the structure of the Keshe Foundation. And we would like to see how you react to it, how you enjoy it, what emotion it creates in you. These are 20 soaps which touch the physicality and the emotion together. And we want to see your response. Is standard soap, it's a standard, what you call, dimension on it. And for what it should do, it's actually worth it. When you pay 2.5, 3 million in the United States to reach to the same point. And we take this further up in next few weeks. We explain to you the single soap in like the body soap, and then what we call the pain soap. But these are not normal soaps. The condition, the production of it is, what we put in it is groundbreaking, and it'll never be copied. Impossibility for anyone to copy. And if you see somebody puts on, know there's impossible to do. I'll explain one day how. And then we'll go to the next step in the same process, in the same production, in the same, what we call material delivery of bringing things in a more direct use by the emotion of the man, or how you feel to use it. These are not medicines, and these are just a normal soap with a new twist in understanding the process of creation. As I said, you see the new soaps which is launched. Will be released in the next few hours, maybe today, tomorrow. They're unique, and they'll be delivered, I think, in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, more 4 weeks, whenever it's completely in. And there will be a very limited edition of these. We will not repeat it. It's just, as we understand, is what we call trials of the Keshe Foundation. And then we will transfer these into world of the cosmetics and what we call in many, many ways of application and use. It was interesting to see how many of you responded to the session of last week, where without you knowing, we brought in new elements, how most of you come with the same kind of understanding, the same kind of what you call emotions. And it was interesting that you were not aware what we did, what was the process, and how it will be said to be done. The knowledge seekers who come into, or who came to the last session of the September, we will get in touch with you in coming days, some of you, and we want to go through the whole process of your journey in the September session. Even though some of you written to us, we know we might come back to you to understand more, to go in a more intriguing way to develop the process. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Just let me get my screen up here.
If you were not here before when we started, what I explained, some of you, because of the attacks we had on the servers of the Keshe Foundation, in a very severe way, we went on for days. If you have any problem to log into Keshe Foundation websites, any of them, KF SSI, KF Education, Keshe Foundation, Keshe.Foundation, clean up your cookies and come back in. You should be able to get it in. It's just that it's a process used to stop these attacks. We have to do certain things, or what we call IT team does, to protect what we call the Keshe Foundation assets on the internet. And please just clean up your cookies and come back in. You should be able to get in, because some people can get in on the mobile phone, some people can't get on the mobile phone, some people can get it through their laptop or iPads. We're trying to clean up. If you have problems, send it to info@keshe.foundation and the IT team will sort it out.
Okay, we have an announcement from Rafael and the Brazilian Keshe Foundation, and he wanted me to read it because he's not able to do that while he's translating. I have a picture of the conference coming up November 9th and 10th in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. So let me read what he has to share here. It says, hello, Mr. Keshe. I share here with you a brief update of our work. Brazilian teachings, we continue doing every Thursday the simultaneous translation of your teachings, and our Brazilian public teachings every Friday, where we have always had viewers from all over the world.
He says he sent you the wrong file.
Oh.
You just put it up. Check your file. Just wait.
Okay.
Just, I know where that came from, your reading. Just wait, you most I will send you another one and come bring this up later on when you have everything.
Sure.
Okay, no problem. Oh, it would have been nice to be there again. We were there 4 years ago, just before the corona, around about the same time. And I wish you very success with this conference.
Okay, I've got a new one, but I have to just export it. Just be a minute here. Go. And open it. Okay. Okay, here's the text that goes along with the announcement. On November 9th and 10th will take place one of the biggest conferences on alternative therapies and technologies of Brazil. And the Keshe Foundation was invited to be at this conference and give a talk on the first day. We were also chosen by the organizers of this conference as one of the institutions in the country that has made the biggest impact on the lives of others and on society. And for this, we will be receiving an award at this event called the Humanity Award. In addition to the one-hour talk that the representative of the Keshe Foundation in Brazil, Rafael Teixeira, will give on the first day of the conference, during the 2 days of the conference, we will also have a booth where knowledge seekers from the Brazilian community will be there to share their experiences and understanding of the Keshe Foundation technology. We are also using this opportunity of this great event to make the first face-to-face meeting between knowledge seekers from the Brazilian community since the establishment of the Keshe Foundation Brazil in 2019, and knowledge seekers from various parts of the country will be with us at this event. There will be no live recording of this conference. For more information about this conference, please get in touch with the Brazil team in our Telegram group, Keshe Brazil Knowledge Team. Thank you, Rafael.
That's fantastic. I wish you all the best. And the foundation grows on its own steps, step by step. It's exactly 5 years, more or less, since we've been to Brazil for the conference about around the same time. We went twice within a short time back to Brazil. And it's fantastic to see how hard work of the Brazilians have paid off. And I know Chinese are trying to replicate the work of the Brazilians in China with the Keshe Foundation. Any other announcement?
I don't have any other announcements, I don't believe. No. But we do have a hand up and we've got some questions going on. So let's get into that, I guess.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go with our hand up, which is Marinez. Would you like to go ahead, Marinez?
Yes, thank you very much, Rick. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for this fantastic teaching. I hope I don't take time of other knowledge seekers to ask. I have 3 questions. First of all, when you talked about crystal formation, is it well, I think you said it's in space. How is created? Is it in field form? And what's the characteristic of that? Please.
Can you repeat, please?
You talked about crystal form.
Crystal formation is a scientific way of explaining all the fields come back together to a center. In a way. In a Keshe Foundation translation of the energy fields, not the matter fields. Because crystal structure is a point of reflection of energy or light or matter state energy balance. What this means is the light of what we call, which is energy in motion, travels through its distance from A to B to reach balance of the gravitational magnetic field in respect to its own position. And when it's a space free, it can travel a lot. When it's a space closure, it travels very little, and then it confines back, reflects back on itself in a matter state. This is how diamonds are created. This is a very technical, and I have explained this in other private teachings to some scientists, and it's very controversial. Because if you understand it, you understand even how the universe is created. What this means is, in a common man language, is that you have a source. Depending how much the field energy of this source travels, at a given strength, it cannot, its gravitational, its magnetical becomes balanced to its own source. It reflects, travels the same distance, and then it reflects, travels the same distance, is the energy balance within that distance. And then it has now two positions of balance. So it reflects. So in this reflection, and if you take it in the matter state, it travels so much that it takes a shape of the universal crystal, or what we call like a universe. And we see this structure a lot in even diamond structure, in the rough diamonds. We see this shape. So is the reflection when a when the light travels, now we know from book 2, is a plasma. It has magnetical as much as it has gravitational to its point. And how close you bring these two dictates the speed of it. Because there is less losses, less given to the environment. So this reflection, this interaction, in a way, if you look at it, it creates a dimension like this. Gravity always pulls in on a different strength and pushes out as magnetical different. It usually gives you an elliptic shape like this. It's not shaped like this, spherical. And there is a reason why it takes this shape, and in a way we see it in the what you call in the structure of the creation of the systems, that we've been brought up wrongly that the Earth is a spherical shape. Earth is not a spherical shape. If you look at its totality in the field of strength, it is more like this. This is its crystal structure shape. And this is one of the reasons even when we look at the sun, we think the sun is spherical by distance, but it's not. The sun itself has a slightly different shape, and that shape is even explains why the North Pole is so many degrees warm, what do you call it, different than the South Pole. Earth is the same. So this creates a totally different structure of the wavelength and everything else, and different shape of creation of life in the universe. But in principle, is created from the reflection of the same light, not from another interacting with it. And if you understand this, then you understand it starts with the light of the creator, and in interaction with its own field creates its own universe, if you understand it that way. But does not stand still, because in its reflection, in a way, it interacts with more, and this creates the life. And this is why we say the creator is everywhere, because it comes from the creation of its own crystal structure property, its own fields.
Beautiful.
This is what we see, what we understand. But the beauty with this understanding is that for it to travel a distance in that source, what we call, like, let's say the black hole, it has to be given what is absorbed and what is emitted by its environment. This is why if you take a corn and you try to make a popcorn out of it, if you change the atmospheric condition of the pot, you'll find out the same corn creates different sizes of popcorn. By the same principle, when you go to the volcanic eruptions where some of the diamonds are created through the same property of the explosion of the popcorn of the corn becomes diamonds in a way, we see different structures. Depends what environmental pressures, temperatures around allow the solidification, we get different shapes and different colors and different sizes of the diamond. And they follow the same procedure. It does not matter whether you're on the Earth, on the Moon, and on other planetary system with a volcanic eruption. And part of the creation of life on this planet is due to the existence of the volcanic eruptions. Different energies of carbon, different energies of explosion, in interaction with the atmosphere led to the creation of life. Without it, life as we know it today would not exist. And the same way is the dimension of the life and the variety of the lives we see on this planet. Volcanic eruptions on Earth were one of the major contributors to the creation of life on this planet. Where they create a condition of mixing of the carbon with the, what we call, with its content, with nitrogen and oxygen. Where partially where the carbon came through the inner part of the Earth, brought that condition of the creation of the amino acid, and then in the latter part, due to salinity, life, we don't need the volcanic eruptions. The salinity has taken that position and what we call process.
Thank you. The second question is about C15. In what condition it is created, carbon.
C15 is a combination of carbon-14 and hydrogen. And is, I call it once universal alcohol to get drunk with, because you can do a lot of things with it. But it's understanding that is the essence of the creation connected to the creator. Once it's been said, what we call carbon-14 is is the process of the interaction of the field energies of the universe by themselves, on themselves, and because of themselves. And it's in its purest form. It cannot go to anything else, but it can connect to its own origin because it has the same common denominator. I explained maybe scientifically how it looks. If you take carbon and hydrogen and put it through the process of crystallization, which we call carbon-14, and then add, interact in a plasmatic fields, these two together, which gives you what I call carbon-15. This carbon-15 is the energizer. And in a way, if you understand, as I explained just before, CH3 is carbon-15 too. In understanding that this is the matter state of energy, and this is the universal state of energy to the creator. And the energy combination of this with the amino acid gives a clarity and an energy release that can reach man to carbon-15. That's why we see narcotic have such effect. You look at all the hormones in your body, all have this characteristics, this combination. Testosterone. Everything else you look at has this combination of work because it allows free energy to get to that point. Once I explain this, why we have excitation in a point of addiction to sex is because in subconscious level we reach to the point of creator due to the hormones within the body of the man. And then you understand how everything else works and how we are rewarded. And how things are and how things are kept and put in the state of the life and creation of life. Understanding one is in a matter state and one is in an energy state. And then you have to understand, if you play this game, if you understand it in a way, in a full capacity of it, then you understand the emotion is connected with it. And that emotion brings a physical reaction. This is why we fall in love in a way. If one day the scientists come up with a what you call mechanical or physical energy level of the love, they will find carbon-15 in it, both in both dimensions. And this is why we feel falling in love in our heart, because these guys are floating through it, while these guys are part of it and others. World of creation is very simple if you understand it. Any other question? I'm just
Yes.
to see. Thank you very much. Is there any other question?
I have another question. First of all, so emotion of physicality and emotion of soul are related to each other or are the
Are
same?
connected to each other.
So it's
The emotion of the physicality is connected to carbon-12. The emotion of the soul is connected to carbon-14.
thank you. And the next one is when we see the whole organization and order in the universe, we think, okay, there should be a DNA which fixes the size in every part, or kind of, I think it's the um, inertia, the line of inertia of universe and inertia of locality, which fixes the size and the force of these fields to lead to creation. Is it true?
Pardon?
We see always the same size in each planet, in each universe, in each solar system, whatever. Is this uniformity of the sizes? It's like human DNA, which is all of us were the same form. Is it because of the line of inertia of universe and locality that it's
In a,
regulates the
in
size
a
and
way,
field?
yes. In a way, yes. In a way, in a bigger shape and size, you do not find elements in the close to the center of the black hole of the universe that you see in the outer boundaries. But they're all connected through the universal line of magnetic fields. Due to, it's very much when you change the pressure and temperature of a substance, its characteristic changes or its manifestation changes. You go from gas to liquid. The same happens in the universal structure, where the magnetic field pressure in the center of the universe is totally different than on the boundaries of it. But on the boundaries, you have the pressure from outside universes on it. So in a way, they play each other off, and in a way, they bring new condition of existence. But at the end, they all have the same common denominator. You have to have a field to create a structure. You have to have an energy to create a structure. But if you understand how to change the energy into a structure, you don't need to hold the structure. You can create it anytime. This is what we do in the Keshe Foundation lab. We create the structure of the energy, and by the interaction with itself, we create the flying saucer, you call it the UFO. As I said many times, you look at the size of the flying objects. Can you imagine 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers aluminium panel to build a structure? There is no such a thing. You build a structure by the combination of the field interaction with itself, crystal structure. And this is what, as I said, in our laboratory test, researchers see like a cloud coming up, beginning up. It's just that you see the vapor rising from the sea, and it goes up in interaction with the environment of the earth itself. It becomes a cloud. It gives a structure. The magnetic field of the earth in interaction with its own dynamic structure, has to be dynamic, creates the atmosphere of the planet. There is no difference. Now we have reached that level of knowledge and understanding in the Keshe Foundation laboratories. And I created this years ago, but knowledge is done when it's shared, and then it can be developed. And our knowledge seekers are in that position. The understanding of the change in respect to what itself, which created it, creates by itself the same, creates its own environment. One ray, one field of the creator, in its dimension, in respect to its essence of the field strength, creates its own crystal, its own universe. And what is in macro? What is macro? We never understood. Now we understand, we do the same. But we control in a different dimension and direction.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. I'll show you, this is very important for knowledge seekers. I was discussing this with our team. This is, I have to go into it, bring it down, and then explain it for you to understand. To zoom. Good. Enjoy.
Recording in progress.
Okay. I want you to look at something very interesting. This is the graph of no headphone connected to our system this morning. Last time we connected you all to our system and we watched what happened. This time we didn't connect any of you. Due to the process of the work, you lot have connected yourself to our system. The interesting is, I show you something else because our guys are taking these pictures and I show you what it means. Before we start a session, before we connect you to the teaching or we start a Zoom session, I have to edit it because there's some information you don't need to see. Okay. That, go back and I share it with you. Now I cancel. I'm so slow in these things, it puzzles me sometimes. We try to connect to Zoom. We're going to share with you something else you see. Before we start the session, this is a normal standby. We see when there is nobody in the system, there is no connection. This is a few minutes before you start. We start the session this morning. Once we connected the Zooms and in the system, because our system externally and all of us are connected to our system. This is why you turned up. Where the arrow is when the system came out, when the session started. And you see how you react, how you interact. I asked our team yesterday to see if they understood the meaning of the question. The left side, you have a central line. I don't know if I can annotate on this. That's it. We used to be able to do shared high reaction record holds labs. No, we cannot annotate. If you, let me see if I can annotate on my mobile. We can't annotate anymore. Very strange. At the arrow point, when you see to the left of the arrow, is the continuation of this one. So once we come on, it changes. Somewhere in the center, if you look at the second arrow or the arrow on the right hand side, you see a vertical line. Every gap you see a vertical line. That vertical line before the arrow on the right side separates us. On the left side arrow is the horizontal side reading, which is of your brain dimension, of your shoulder to shoulder, as I call it. And the one on the right side is the dimension of the, what we call vertical side. You connect to the universe. The left side, you hardly see the yellow, which is the physicality, which means the soul and the soul of physicality cover the shape of the body of the man. That's why you don't see it, but it's actually there. I asked it to be tested yesterday to get a confirmation is correct. It's in there somewhere. You see sometimes a yellow patch, it shows itself like a tip of one of these things. On the right side is the vertical side. The way you absorb energy from the earth, in a way, if you look at it, and you release it. With this, you can travel the dimension of transformation. But you always have the limitation of physicality holding you on to the planetary system. That's why you see the manifestation of the yellow very, 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 very clear. And then you understand this is the same machine in the same area, it's just red on the horizontal and the vertical dimension. Then you understand how to change your physicality into energy where physicality does not even exist, does not play a role. Transmutation. Then this brings a lot of understanding. You see on the long, if you look at the left arrow, and then see where we switched on the system, or you all came in, we didn't switch, the system is always on. You see the parallel line, how the soul and the soul of physicality run together on a what we call horizontal line. And on the vertical, there's a mayhem. Because physicality wants to manifest itself, and in controlling the dimension of this change of the soul and the dimension of the change of soul of physicality. This, as I said to our colleagues today, if you give me 10 years, I can explain every dot and everything, and you learn something new about this graph. How you connected, where the connection of the soul was, and why we jumped, and what is the response. Then we understand we have this schizophrenic of life of the soul of physicality, and no soul of physicality, which allows us to move in a dimension of the soul of the man, which is on the left hand side. This is why we stand vertical, and how our emotional field strength height is compared to our soul height. And if you look sometime, especially just before the second arrow on the right hand side, you see a peak in the elevation of the soul or increase in understanding, and you see how much on the bottom side the soul of physicality jumps in comparison to this at that point. All this has a meaning. You see the repetition again on the right hand side at the same point where the soul comes in, and you see how the physicality jumps like a monkey. It's just putting a needle into something and just jumps. These all have an understanding. This has a lot of meaning in how we react in respect to our soul, how we react in respect to our physicality, and what gives the dimension of physicality in the interaction of the field of the soul of the Creator, and how the unicos is created. Any other question?
Thank you very much.
I've just received a note in the background that they have for the soaps, if anybody wants to go there. It'll be interesting as an observer of using these soaps. Give a pack to your partner and don't let your packs to be shared. And ask your partner to observe you in emotion and in physical condition in respect to what kind of soap you use, let's say over a week, and change it to another or combine the two together. And then you start seeing how even your skin feels, the touch of the skin. How does your partner's touch changes? Would you feel it in a different sense of emotion? And then tell him, always use that one because I feel you better. And or you might tell your partner, say, you understand me more because maybe you use that combination of the fields than me. We don't look at it as a soap. We look at interaction of the fields of the life of the man. And these soaps are set that way. And I hope you enjoy it. And it's unique in its production, and is unique in its, what do you call it? We supply the material and we don't give the combination to no one to understand. And then we produce the other parts. I've seen some of the groups trying to replicate Keshe Foundation and NEGANs. There's no way he can do what he does. It's just, what do you call it? Trying to, what do you call, milk it what is last. But many of you have used these materials in the twin gases or whatever in the past, the NEGANs. Now there's a reason we went this way, because with the soap you don't need legislation and certification. As long as the material stands as a base, the same, you can produce, or people can produce, and we're giving this one to outside source to produce it, not by the Keshe Foundation. And we provide a material. We can go to the same people, but you will not get the same because it's totally different. The structure we use is the knowledge we never released before. We never release it because it can be abused in different ways. In some of the twin ganses, you'll get one gans, but you have to use it in two different positions. That's considered a twinity. Doesn't need necessarily to be two different bottles. And you will understand more how to play with this and how to use it according to what your need or what your requirement is of the emotion. I know the first batches of these gases were shipped out this week, so sooner or later you receive all your requests and coming through. I have a good news for you. those of you who are looking for that cosmic ray, we have found the packaging in the box that will go out to. Hopefully they produce the prototype this week or so, and immediately after we'll start shipping them out. It's beautiful. It actually reflects what is inside it. It reflects the carbon-14 and the cosmic rays together in its package, which is fantastic. We'll release it soon. Hopefully next week or so you will see the picture of the packaging and it'll be released. And strange enough, it comes from the land which I could never think do such a thing, and they'll be able to do this. Any other question?
Okay, a couple of questions that are related to one to the screen which you have up. Stefania in the chat says, from this graph, can we see the crystalline structure, how it's formed?
No. It needs another addition, maybe in the next few months when we can put it in. Yes, but no. Because when they interact, it will create a different damage. Initially, if we put the left and right for an individual, which is connected to the system, we should be able to see your physical shape before even not seeing you. In the future, we can even see if, let's say, you have a leg or an arm amputated, you will see in the structure. But we don't have, it's something we talked about, we need to change this into three-dimensional, but when you make it three-dimensional, you will see the soul, you will see the physicality. And this is sometimes off for this to be done. We need to go into a holographic structure that the data comes together and creates that structure. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question in German that is from Andreas in the Q&A, who says, good morning, Mr. Keshe. I received the full order of the Cosmic Communication Bundle last week. Now my question is, the €300 annual fee, which account can I transfer this to and for what purpose? Thank you.
This is for us to keep you connected. These are charges. And it's paid to the Keshe Foundation sales. It's part of your agreement when you bought. It's just paid to, because any updates, anything else we do, if you damage your system, we replace some knowledge seekers have already damaged their part, they've received a new part. And this is part of our work. We have to place your system inside. The system is physically needs to be moved in. You can put your system in, but not connected just because you have it. You have to make, especially if you made the universal Obeso system, it needs time to be connected. The cosmic ray bundles is a different combination, and then it needs maintenance, it needs people to look after.
Okay, good.
I think we are more or less all the cosmic bundles which were bought are delivered now. The process is complete. We complete all the Obesos within the next month or two, and then introduce the next step into this structure.
Okay, thank you. We have.
By the way, some people bought the home enhancement unit. That is going through the process of getting finished to be delivered in the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I was in the lab, and now we will release majority of them within the next few weeks. They're ready to go. Yes.
Okay, we have a few questions in the Q&A here. Let's start off with Gerhard, who says, "Good day, Mr. Keshe. Last week you said that the soul side, the hydrogen and carbon, is constant in our universe, and that the soul of the Creator is implanted in the soul of the universal cosmos. Does this constancy of the soul side still apply when leaving our universe into the unicos? Or is this exactly the part that the daughter of Mithra will then teach us knowledge seekers?"
I think I explained that in the teaching today in a touching way. The daughter of Mitra, she will teach you knowledge that you could not even imagine exists. The knowledge is which opens the door in another dimension of the life. And you will understand it when you come to it. And regarding the connection to the universe, I explained earlier on in the teaching, I touched on it very softly. In the future, we go back to it and show the processes, how you connect through your emotion to your soul. Because a lot of you, especially if you have these cosmic bundles, and you have the Visa bundles, and you have the discs which we gave you, you bought some with the holes or without holes, and you have the vision units, they all come together. Let me explain to you something very interesting, how those cosmic discs which we gave you before, and many of you bought it, plays this, I have to go, whiteboard. Yeah. You see, the reason I originally put these discs out, and then the new version, the more powerful version came out. This is your, the worst drawer in the world. Let me do this. This is your fingers. This is the disc you hold in your hand. This was originally why I brought this out, for the future time we have enough to do. And then the new version with a hole in it, which concentrates the fields. This disc is the physicality. Is not pinpointed, because every single finger of you receives certain field strength. That's why we have 5 fingers. This is how part of our intelligence come from our fingers. I'll explain this. What happens to people who use their hands or the born with their arms? They have a different intellect. It's not a problem. But now with a disc, you homogenize all the fields. And the ones with a center hole in it, it has a dimension of the fields without matter state. When you hold these things in your hand and connect to the cosmic rays bundle, you will feel the difference in emotion, you feel the difference in the information, you feel every part of you feels different, because even your vision changes when you use the visual glasses, even the old ones you have. Then you will understand how we are connected in a different shape or form to the fields of the universe with us. These, the cosmic bundles, in conjunction with the discs, you will see the field, because now you get it to, when you have just a cosmic bundle, is your hand, is what it comes in. The one with the disc, when you hold it, then you feel the real energy difference, the emotional changes, and how then you connect which hand to give to which hand. Because now you're dealing with the fields to the fields, not fields to the matter. And then when you put the visual glasses on we created, you bring a different kind of vision into it in transmutation and transportation. But you have to understand, try it and see the distance between your hand, the position of the way you twist these fields together, and then how you place the headphones of the system. The new systems which now operated in our lab is a dual stereo system, which means left and right has to be left and right on your headphone. If your headphone with the microphone says that on the left side, you use that combination. But if you use two systems with two headphones on your ear, anyway, put, let me explain it. If we always use the headphones, this is your head. You use the headphones like this with a microphone on this side. If you put another headphone with microphone on this side, you will get totally different combination of energy. Totally different combination. In sessions, we tell you to place the headphones in different places. But if any of you don't have a stereo system, which is both lines have microphone and a headphone, try this and you will get an amazing sensation. It's unbelievable what it does. But then you understand how you play with the fields. I've done this, and these things is crazy, the condition, especially if you connect it to cosmic ray bundles, and the rest will create in you. You connect to huge fields. Because balancedly, when you have a microphone on one side and headphones on the head, one side receives the information, not both sides equally. And then you have to see how it balances. Where in the cosmic ray bundles, we connect balance equal for both sides. Any other question?
All right, our next question is from Hong, and it's kind of a long paragraph here, but bear with me. It says, hello, Mr. Keshe, good day to you. Our actions are driven by our thoughts, and our thoughts, much like a computer, are like programs running. What is input determines what is output. From the moment we begin absorbing energy in the womb, the program of absorbing energy to divide cells starts running. This seems to be a program endowed by the Creator. After birth, in our interactions with the external world in life and work, corresponding programs are running. Some of these programs come from the emotional memories of our parents and ancestors, as you've mentioned, that emotional distortions in parents can manifest as problems in their children. Some of these programs we are not aware of, such as absorbing environmental energy, growing hair and nails, the residual emotional programs from our parents in our genes, etc. While others we are aware of, such as various actions we take for survival, planning to attend a party, etc. The question is, if we can become aware of these deeper programs that we were previously unaware of, does that mean we can control the operation of our own field? How can we become aware of these deeper programs?
change the program to interaction of fields, and then I'm sure 100% you'll find an answer and you will see a different understanding. What you call programs, or we call it RNA, is there because of the interaction of the fields of the matter state which confirms its existence. If you listen to the doctors, if you listen to the scientists, they speak about the RNA and DNA. But one is creator of the other, and the other is creator of the itself. And then one is connected to universal energy, direct, and one is connected to intermediary to the universal energies and the local energy. And then if you understand these two parts, you can do a lot with both. You can transmute, you can transfer, you can change emotion, you can change the physical body structure. We all know this, but we just, because we think we don't know, we just pass it. Presence of hormones creates, as you said, hair, no hair, or whatever. But emotion, it brings that game to play. And is it for me or is it for somebody else? And if it's for me, I teach it to my child that he'll have the same or she'll have the same. And what and how does it increases the chances of my survival in the environment I exist? Which means my emotion will change my physicality, but that physicality allows the one which I'm changing for to have a span or extension to the life in the environment I live. So emotion as a hormone, hormones then interact with the physicality and change the physicality. We see this very clearly. I've spoken about this before in some of the teachings. Men in the Middle East are very hairy because women doesn't need that much heat, that much warmth, because it's not just because of the, what do you call it, the hot food, it's just because of the environment. So men create this combination of the hair on the skin, and even women create, so we see a lot of hairy women in that part of the world because of the comfort to live, to create that circulation of what we call coolness and the rest of it. This is one of the primary, having the hair. The animals do it in the winter to keep warm or whatever. Men do it in a different way. We see the same man over centuries moving to Scandinavia or moves into China. And we see no hair. The research, deep research done on this topic, I explained this before, it shows why men in, what do you call it, Scandinavian countries are more or less hairless in their body. And if you see the Chinese, if they have one, is amazing. They want to show that I have a hair on my chest. I have a problem in China when I go to a hairdresser because the Chinese don't see mustache the way we carry. The hairdressers would love to cut your always. Can I touch your mustache? Can I cut it for you? Because it's something they don't have, because the future doesn't exist, because of the emotion. But why did the man become hairless? It comes from the environment, the warmth the body of the woman needs to stay warm in closeness, and then create condition of life to be able to produce. You need skin to skin touch because of the cold weather. In a warmer weather, you need that separation. And this comes through other dimensions. So emotion of trying to guarantee the survival of the generation, that your partner is warm, and whatever man loses through hormones his own hair. It's a huge research done by scientists on this. If you find it, read it. It's amazing what you understand, what it does, and how long it takes. And I explained, they couldn't understand how man evolved. And I explained before, they went and looked at the lices, because those people in those times, lice was the second nature of the animals on our body. They look at the lice in the beard, they look at the lice on the, what do you call, the body, and they look at the lice on the genitals. And they went to coffins, they opened the bodies, they did all sorts of things. When they found new bodies, they took these things into consideration. And the knowledge is evolved. It's taken decades to complete this research. And so our emotion for our partner to live and for us to be able to generate the next generation in the cold weathers, in the close contact, has become part of the genes, the part of the RNA and DNA matching to create that condition of emotion. We know this very well in research papers. And Canadians have done a lot of this research with the Eskimos. And you can read on that side, because of the understanding of the survival. And how we do this, how we survive, and why mammoths lived in the ice age and then they disappeared, and everything else relates to the same knowledge. And why the animals shed their hair during different seasons. And there's a lot of research done in this. So that has become part of the RNA information that we keep, and we replicate it in the DNA information. As I said before, once the scientists of the man understand, the egg and the sperm are mainly construction of the DNA, which once given room in the womb of the mother, it manifests itself in a DNA from RNA as a recording of information to actual physicality in the dimension of life. Then the womb of the mother creates that restriction. That how life should be in this womb, because it has to match mine as I have, it has. So the what we call, scientifically, we look at the physical structure of the, let's say, egg or a sperm. But if the scientists look at the field structure, which is this RNA information of the universe, totally different line of information and knowledge and creation starts. They haven't understood that yet. They play with the stem cells and the others, but you can play with the fields and you can play those. And so your emotion as a field will bring changes in the dimension of physicality, and once it lasts order 25 years, it becomes part of the structure of the DNA. This is done again, a lot of research, which, let's say, you picked up a defect, which, let's say, you broke a leg, or you, by whatever, had a specific deformation in your cycle of life, not somewhere else, your ancestors. If you have, let's say, if you had it at the age of 10, this matter, and then you had a child at the age of 20, 25, normal. Let's say you have a child at 40, 45, the chances of that deformation appearing in the child is very, very high, because now it's become part of DNA, in the information of RNA, which brings that emotion. And did you pay attention to that deformation at the age of 10, then it becomes part of the emotion connected, and you're 100%, you give it to your child. This is why a lot of children of the mature parents have a totally different intellect. Totally. It's proven scientifically. The parents who have children in late 40s, especially now, it's become very common in their 50s and 60s, create children of a different order of intellect compared to their siblings who were born 30, 40 years earlier. They show totally different stage of maturity, understanding, and we call them, oh, they're so smart. They understand different. They create different. Their approach to life is totally different. Because now, when you had your first child at the age of 20, it's whatever came in and whatever was in your parents inside. When you have a child at the age of 45, 50, you take 25 from 0, 25 from the 1 year old, 25 from 30 years old. All that knowledge, all that intellect, all that emotion now is part of you, which your offspring takes from you. Intelligent added. Because it's not in DNA, it's in the information of emotion. And the doctors tell you, this is why we see through the research done by many universities that children born to the parents after the age of 40 and in 50s and 60s, especially if both partners are past 40, 45 especially, they hardly speak till the age of 3, 4 years old, majority of them. They want to speak because they realize they don't need the language to talk. They speak the language because before that, they understand the emotion carries the signs and everything else. And then they start talking at the age of 4 and 5. Because the intelligence sets in and they are extremely intelligent people. And the later you have a child, we see very common nowadays, especially like in Italy and in the Western world, marriages, men of 60, 70 with women of 35, 40 and 45 and children of them. They're amazing children. They're beyond intelligence of what, and they become what we call gifted children. They're gifted with knowledge of the parents, especially at very, very high level. You look at the gap when it's small, and then when you look at the gap is big, is totally different generation. Generation creation. And intellect. And then when you speak about the daughter of Mitra, she comes from the intellect of the universe, which is matured in time. And created by the fields of the universe, not by the matter state of man, but takes the shape of man. And this is what we say, all the children of the soul. When you understand this, you tap into creation of life from the time of creation of universe, not the meager life of man. And that's why we say children of Mitra are totally different. Because they come from access to the knowledge of the universe than the knowledge of man with the trees and the plants and the animals. Any other question?
Very good. From anonymous attendee, good day. To treat hair in the head or farsightedness or myopia with magnetic fields, should we first work on the general fields of the body, such as the fields of the liver, and solve their problems?
Oh, there are so many controversies in this. But as we don't talk about the medical part and these things because we know they're sitting like a hawk for it. You have to understand the process of creation of sight. And then the rest comes nothing to do with.
The rest comes nothing to do
with it. Yeah. the liver and the lung and the rest of it. That's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
The new site scans we put out, not the first batch which is gone out or going out, the new site batch which is coming out next week is again an amazing structure. You will understand if you took, well, because as we develop, we add to, and as is available, we add to. Those of you who received, for example, the side scans of the first order, and the ones which come ordered from this week onwards, you change and you feel the difference. Because we added the dimension of the soul into the new system. It's very interesting how it works. It doesn't mean that the first one is not good. It still works, but this is addition to knowledge of how bringing, that's why it's called the Trinity GANs.
Okay, that's good information. There was a question, when will the heat GANs be delivered?
All the gases are in production. These are not the things we can just put in there. They need time. They are going through the process. More or less all the gases should be out next week. A lot has been made, but we received some orders, so second batch had to be made in addition to, but there was a slight delay in the labels arriving, and then the instruction, all that been resolved, but all the gases should be out by next Friday, hopefully, if our team be able to push it through. A lot has been delivered this week, but the heat GANs and others all should be out next week.
Okay, we had a question back on the cosmic ray bundle. When we buy the cosmic ray bundle, are we automatically connected for a year, or do we pay the €300 and then get connected?
You're automatically connected for the first year.
Okay. Randy had a question about, what about using a transducer headset along with headsets with a microphone?
What?
What's a transducer? I'm not sure what a transducer headset is. I'll have to get clarification on that, Randy. And we have a serious question from anonymous attendee. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Do you think that a war between Iran, Israel, and America will happen seriously in the near future?
Imminent.
It is, isn't it?
Imminent. The Americans have taken charge of knowing what they have, which they don't give to the Israelis. The Americans do not trust the Israelis that they will not bomb the Iranian nuclear sites. So the head of Samkat has moved to Israel. We call it military disarmament. What it means there's a structure in the American system. I've explained this before. When you buy a fighter plane from Americans, or a bomb from Americans of the sophisticated type, Americans have a veto right on it, which means they control it from inside. And this is what puzzled us, why the Israelis use these bombs so frequently everywhere without any restriction by the American military. This time, the Americans don't want Iranian nuclear site to be touched, but they don't trust the Israelis. So they have appointed the top-ranking officer from American forces, which is answerable actually to the Senate. This guy is extremely powerful guy, but the what do you call it? On the Americans don't trusting the Israelis that they will not touch the Iranian nuclear, what do you call it, sites. they have brought in, they've given the condition to the Israelis, we let you attack Iran, but as long as the CENTCOM director to be in charge, which we call it in military term, disarming your generals. In a way, you pull the strings, they just follow. We had this in the Iranian Revolution. In the Iranian Revolution, Iranian army was controlled by the Americans, and the Americans ordered the disarmament of all the Iranian generals at the beginning of the revolution to step down, and then we had the revolution because of it and through it. So, CENTCOM guy is sitting in Israel now since last week. He knows what armaments Americans have, and he knows what capability Israel have. America does not want to get involved because of the elections. If he goes into war, what do you call it, Biden, 100% he will lose. Americans don't want to go into the war. So they're using the backup facilities of the Americans, like the new laser communication disability systems and the others, bringing in whatever is left of after the last week attack on Israel. The last week attack on Israel destroyed huge number of aircrafts, unfortunately with many of them with pilots inside them, as the reports are reporting. So now, within next few days, we have a big problem. That's the, what do you call it, Yom Kippur on Friday, Saturday. That they will do it before Yom Kippur or after Yom Kippur. Well, so by next few days, if situation is not resolved inside with the Israelis and the Americans and the rest, the war is imminent. Or put it say, the attack of the Israelis, or what the Iranians attack because the Israelis killed and the rest, so if you know the story, is imminent because now the Americans are not putting soldiers on the ground, but the chief of their army, soldier control, military control of hardware, knowing all the things which is in the Americans and Israelis, has taken shape and he's taken position. They have disarmed the Israeli generals in a way, and then we see what CENTCOM guy does. We know his capabilities, we know what Americans have, and I have laid out exactly what's going to happen to the Iranian government in past 24 hours. There is but it's going to be a mayhem because the minute the first attack takes place, all the Iranian missiles will rain down upon Tel Aviv. We won't have a state of Israel the following week, or not the way it is today, because they won't stand to be attacked. But the Americans are trying to say to the Iranians, don't attack, we just hit here and there. But at the same time, Israelis are going in Lebanon, they are going in what do you call it now in Damascus, we saw this past few days. I don't think we're going to end up very, very easy. I see massive problems. But with wherever this guys from this organization end up, there always has been war. We don't have a single case. They're sitting in Ukraine. They sat in Ukraine. They constructed the Ukrainian war. And the war today is sitting at 99%, more than, what do you call it, 98%. But how it is and what the response will be. And they will rain upon each other, what do you call it? And then America needs to get involved because he cannot see the end of a state of Israel. This is the biggest problem, because if what we saw last week repeats, the Israelis, oh, the rocket hit one restaurant. Yes, but why don't you show your military bases? Is there any runway left? These are the things which are hidden, and the other things which are hidden. And they're talking about, according to an intelligence from American side, Iran possesses over 100,000 missiles of different shape and form. And if it comes to the survival of the nation, they will both sides try to, but it's a dangerous point. We asked the Israelis to withhold, we asked the Americans to withhold. And the Iranians are, as I explained to them, you better strike first before you get, before they strike you. And they keep to the ethos of what they want to do with it. But this is going to be mayhem if some people take their way, because they're bringing the most advanced electronic warfare in before the physical. They disable everything and then they destroy everything physically by that the Israelis have done. But actually, the electronic warfare will start first. And we saw how Iranians interfered with the last week electronic system, where they interfered with the, what do you call it, messengers that to everything is safe, you can come out. And the Israelis found that they've been short-circuited by the Iranians, and they said to everybody to stay in, this is a false alarm. The same game, but in a bigger scale, Iran will play new technologies in the game, which is hidden, and then we'll see. At the moment, we are on 100% alert, but how will it take shape, when it will take shape. We expected it last night in a certain directions, but the Americans found that they have a weakness in their structure. And they could not support, the Israelis could not support. Now they're trying to patch that up within the next few days, and then most probably before the weekend or after Yom Kippur, we will see some. Well, as one of the intelligence officers from the United States said, it'll be the last time Yom Kippur will be separated in Israel. Because they know what is coming, but on the other hand, arms have to be sold and factories have to be run in America and other places. This American intelligence says, from what we know, it'll be the last time Yom Kippur will be celebrated this way. It's the last party. But I hope it's not, and I hope on both sides step down.
Okay, thank you for that comprehensive answer.
It's not, it's just we are advisors, we keep breath of all the knowledge from all directions. I even approached the British in the past 48 hours, trying to bring some senses in. British are not ready. Americans don't want to talk. Chinese have already been looked after, so we have to see. The whole problem is the Persian Gulf oil. BP owns all the oil on the other side of the Persian Gulf. They need to control this side of the Persian Gulf, which is Iran. They control the Gulf of Mexico oil, then the prices of oil will play game for the next 5 to 10 years. Because BP will control more or less the whole entirety in one way or another. And this is how British Petroleum came into life originally, by the oil from Persian Gulf, by the uranium, from the Iran side. Globe British, what do you call it, oil corporations and uranium corporation with the rest of it. But the plan is to take the whole side of Iran, what we call Persian Gulf, with the hand of the BP, and they control the oil. The oil prices will be so volatile. They'll be all controlled when they decide what they decide.
It always seems to be about oil. Isn't it time to stop the burning, as you said many years ago in the fireplace discussion?
We will introduce a new technology if it comes to it. We'll break the embargo of oil. We will break the embargo of gold. We will break embargo of the money control by the Keshe Foundation. And it's very easy. You all know how Keshe Foundation works on blueprint days. If Iran touched, we release the blueprint of the production of the gas. Within minutes, all of you become self-sufficient. Many of you tried to make gold, but it failed because you couldn't do the transformation. We'll release the technology. Then we have to see. It'll go viral because with the gas, you know, it is so rapid that, and then we ask you how to support the Keshe Foundation to be on the other side. It's not we don't have it. We are very prudent to work with governments to bring it under control, not to create problem. And it all goes in, because once this happened to Iran, Russia will fall. And then with it, China will go in the next 5 years, which are working on it. And then becomes one global domination. And they can only dominate because we will show you how to use, as I explained in one of the teachings with private teachings, how to create the creation of, that's part of you in today's teaching, and transportation and transmutation. We work, we develop, we are not scared of releasing, but we are aware of what the release of technology can do. While I remember something, those of you who join us this session of the October, try to keep bottles of ganses with you. Means if you can have a couple of bottle of ganses of the CO2 or Zidane or whatever combination you enjoy, 2 of them you need, or any mixture you need. Just have them ready with you. We might ask you to do something very interesting as you see your emotion and your response. Any other question?
A quick comment from Randy, who says that the transducer headsets are, or headphones, are bone conduction headphones. Have you heard of those before, Mr. Keshe? They transmit the sound through the bones, I think, by the ears rather than in the ears themselves.
We use that with some of the teachings in some of the sessions, if that's what you mean, because we don't use the headphones only in the ear. If the word for it is transducing, we already do that with certain testing, and even wellness center uses them. So now we know what's the word for it.
In a way, if you put it on your forehead, you're getting more through the bone than through the ears.
Yeah, because bones create a different vibration filter of the environment.
So is your advice to Randy, would you say, why not?
We are using it, don't say why not. It's already used in many sessions.
Okay.
Now we call it, you can transduce your microphones. It puts it on your skull.
Yeah, I had trouble with that with my earphones, trying to keep them attached. I didn't have headphones, I had earphones. So 2 sets of earphones attached to the front and back of the head and above the ears was difficult. I had a headband to keep them all under control. But
yeah, I was saying to our production people, you know, when they do this knitting, you might knitted animals on the Keshe Foundation, to make a headband knitted that you can put these in.
Ah, okay.
So if it gets that, we'll put it up.
I felt a bit like Medusa with these wires coming out and whatnot. But anyway, yeah. Okay. I think you've covered
Shall
the
we call it a
questions.
day?
I think you
Yep.
covered all the questions, basically.
Thank you
So
very much.
thank you.
We'll see you next week, and I'm sure we will, have a session the following Friday, I think, if I'm correct. Maybe we move it a week after the session, and we'll see what'll come up. If you are still here by next week, that'll be very interesting. And
Yes.
see how things take shape in the world of creation.
Yes,
Thank you very
indeed.
much. Please try the soaps. As I said, we will introduce 2 different type of soaps in the following weeks. Don't look at it that they're extremely expensive. They're actually extremely cheap. If they do what they say, which we think should do, will bring a new dimension in the world of science and technology. One of the biggest problem with the world of wellness, especially in certain directions, is all these tricks with the clinical trials. And understanding that the soap production is a natural process. We don't need we need a production manufacturing. We can introduce the technology this way much rapid than actually going through, because it's just a soap. And there's no regulation on a soap with water, natural water. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed the session today. See you next week.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. Okay, well, that wraps up our 559th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, October 10th, 2024. Our next public teaching workshop is the public meeting for testimonials, and that's coming up Monday, which is, I believe, the 14th. Let me double check on that. Yes, Monday the 14th, starting at 8 p.m. Central European summertime. And if you have any testimonials of the plasma products or experiences you might have had in your life that has changed your life, it's a good place to share with the world and let everyone know that you've had such experiences. So again, that's a Monday, October 14th at 8 p.m. Central European Time with
Can
the
I just come in?
testimonials. Yes.
Second. I just received a message from our production side that there are 4 new pair of discs finished available if anyone wants to buy them. That takes a long time and 4 are in production completed. So if anybody wants to.
Do they order that through the store, or do they?
Through the store, yeah. And then the cosmic material, because we put a hold on it now, hopefully the packaging is sorted. It'll go back on that people can buy. Because we put a stop on it till we could sort out the, the packaging. Now it gets reopened for people to order. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, and let me see, what else do we have? Well, we have the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace coming up on Tuesday. That'll be the 15th. And that's with members of the Universal Council and support members. And that starts at the 4 p.m. Central European Time. So I think that's it. So we'll go out with our usual, get it lined up here, Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit. And We'll see you all in the next public teaching. Thank you, everyone, for attending here today. Oh, our background image today was from Jedi Simon. Thank you, Jedi, for continuing to give us some quality backgrounds. Okay, bye, everyone.